Welcome to Off the Beaten Path. Please be sure to like and subscribe. Russia is a vast and fascinating country with a rich history and culture. It is home to some of the world's most iconic landmarks, from the Kremlin in Moscow to the Hermitage Museum in St. Petersburg. But there are many interesting and little-known facts about Russia that you may not know. From its unique traditions to its diverse wildlife, here are some interesting facts about Russia that you may not have heard before. Russia is the largest country in the world by landmass, covering an area of 6.5 million square miles. It is 1.8 times larger than the United States and slightly larger than the planet Pluto, which has an area of 6.1 million square miles, making it the largest country in both Europe and Asia. Moscow, the capital city of Russia, is home to 78 billionaires, the most of any other city in the world. This makes it one of the wealthiest cities and a major hub for business and finance. With Moscow's wealth of resources and opportunities, it's no wonder that so many billionaires have chosen to make their homes in this great city. The Hermitage Museum in St. Petersburg is a world-renowned museum that houses an impressive collection of over 3 million exhibits. It is comprised of 6 buildings, each with its own unique history and architecture. If you were to spend 2 minutes at each exhibit, it would take you over 6 years to see everything. The museum is also home to about 70 cats as part of a decree first instated in 1745 by Empress Elizabeth, daughter of Peter the Great. This decree ensures the museum is protected by the cats from rodents and other pests that could damage its priceless artifacts. The cats have been living at the museum ever since and are now an integral part of its history and culture. Visitors can often spot them lounging around or playing with each other in the museum's courtyards and galleries. In the late 17th century, Peter the Great, Tsar of Russia, instituted a tax on facial hair in an attempt to modernize Russian society. This tax was imposed on anyone with facial hair and was meant to encourage people to adopt a more modern look. The tax was unpopular and is believed that it contributed to Peter's eventual downfall. Despite this, the tax had a lasting impact on Russian culture and is still remembered today as an example of how powerful rulers can shape society through taxation. Anyone with facial hair was required to carry a copper or bronze token to prove that they had paid the tax. The Russian State Library in Moscow is a remarkable institution that houses an impressive collection of books, manuscripts, and other materials. It is the largest library in Europe and the second largest library in the world, after the Library of Congress. The library was founded in 1862 and has since grown to become one of the most important cultural institutions in Russia. It contains over 43 million items, including books, periodicals, newspapers, maps, photographs, audio recordings, and more. It is an invaluable resource for anyone interested in Russian culture or history. Lake Baikal is a unique and remarkable body of fresh water located in Siberia. It is the oldest and deepest lake in the world, estimated to be 25 million years old and 5,315 feet deep. It is also the largest body of fresh water on Earth, containing more than 20% of the world's total fresh surface water. The crystal-clear lake has an incredible biodiversity with over 1,700 species of plants and animals, found nowhere else on Earth. Brown bears in Kremlin Nature Reserve in South Kamchatka have developed an addiction to kerosene and gas barrels, used for aviation fuel that powers helicopters and planes. This addiction has been observed since the early 2000s when the reserve was established. The 700 bears living on the reserve have been seen drinking from the barrels, licking them, and even rolling them around. Some bears have even been seen stalking helicopters for their cravings. According to the 2010 census, a third of Russia's 153,000 villages have a population of fewer than 10 residents. This is an alarming statistic that highlights the rural depopulation in Russia. The lack of economic opportunities and services in these villages has led to a decrease in population over the years. This has had a negative impact on the country's economy as well as its social fabric. It is important for the government to take steps to address this issue and ensure that these villages are not left behind. In Russia, a unique marriage tradition is for the groom to pay a ransom for his kidnapped bride to her friends and family before the ceremony. This ransom payment is known as the vykup nevesty or bride price. It is believed that this tradition dates back to ancient times when brides were actually kidnapped and held for ransom by their future husbands. The groom would then have to pay a sum of money in order to secure her release and marry her. Today, this tradition has been adapted into a fun game where the groom must pay a symbolic amount of money in order to win his bride's hand. Payment is usually made in the form of champagne, chocolates, or money, which are presented to the bride's family during an elaborate ceremony. In an effort to combat the low population in Ulyanovsk, Governor Sergei Morozov declared September 12, 2003, the day of conception. On this day, citizens are given a day off from work and encouraged to take part in activities that will help them conceive a child. The government also provides incentives such as free medical checkups and baby product discounts for those who conceive on this day. This initiative has been successful in increasing the birth rate in Ulyanovsk and is being adopted by other regions in Russia as well. As a result, in June, the region's birth rate often triples. In 2013, Moscow was rated as having the world's worst traffic, with millions of travelers stuck in congestion for hours. To avoid getting stuck in traffic, many people have turned to alternative methods of transportation such as public transport, cycling and walking. However, wealthy Russians have found a way to avoid this. Many of them have resorted to hiring luxury taxis that look like ambulances for an average fee of $171. These taxis have experienced drivers who know the best routes to take in order to avoid traffic jams. Russian forests absorb more carbon dioxide than any other forest in Europe, earning them the nickname of the lungs of Europe. These forests cover over 1/3 of Russia's landmass and are home to a wide variety of flora and fauna. They also provide essential habitat for many endangered species, making their conservation even more important. The Russian government has taken steps to protect these forests by creating protected areas and implementing sustainable forestry practices. As a result, these forests have become an invaluable resource for both Russia and the world at large. In Russia, the tradition of giving flowers is deeply rooted in their culture. It is believed that an odd number of flowers brings luck and good fortune, while an even number of flowers is only given at funerals. This tradition has been passed down through generations and is still practiced today. The Trans-Siberian Railway is the world's longest railway, spanning nearly the entire length of Russia. It begins in Moscow in the west and ends in Vladivostok in the east, covering a total distance of 5,772 miles. This railway has been an important part of Russian history since its construction began in 1891. It has served as a vital transportation link between different parts of Russia, and today, it is still an important part of Russian life and culture, with many people taking advantage of its convenience to travel across the country. Russia spans across 2 continents and 9 time zones. It used to have 11 time zones, but this was reduced to 9 in 2010. This reduction was done to make it easier for people living in different parts of the country to keep track of time. Despite this reduction, Russia still has more time zones than any other country in the world. At their closest point, the United States and Russia are only 2.5 miles apart. This is due to Big Diomede Island, which is located in the middle of the Bering Strait between Alaska and Siberia. The island is part of Russia and is only 2.5 miles away from Little Diomede Island, which belongs to the United States. The dialing country code for Russia is 007. This code is used when making international calls to Russia from any other country. It is important to note that the dialing code for Russia may vary depending on the country you are calling from. For example, if you are calling from the United States, you would need to use 011 instead of 007. Thank you for watching, and please be sure to like and subscribe to our channel.